Mom, Lonnie has my purse. Josh.
Where is she?
Where's Josh?
He's right there.
I'll show you this fun house here.
You know, that's funny that you ended up in the middle. Where I didn't do it here.
John, or,
That was
last.
Fire.
Here.
Yeah.
Truck, this truck. Burning the traffic going that way. The truck's facing that way, the cab's on. But I'm on the other side of the highway to take that picture. Dead. He just happened to be there. All right, look. Where's the little house? It's a one bedroom. I color coded the wall, color coded all that. I did a lot. Okay, I paid 20 for it. So I'm 50 by 155. I own the two houses next to it. Okay, there's the back. It came out so bad that you can see all these times. I have to read the back. Just watch. And all that. See the nice house there? And it has a little mountains. Okay. Now, if you wanted to go there and live, buy that one. You have to go big one to do that. Which I got Alex to do. Is everybody that works downtown want to live over here? Because the downtown is different than that. And so they don't even have I rent this house for
That's my understanding.
We had, what's her name? Diana Rodriguez speak at Rambo. I haven't. I gave a bunch of people one time to try to do this. Yeah.
No, but I've been at Boy Scouts, so screw you.
They can give me to Remy. I think she's the one who ends up with the questions in the audience.
You're bigger than they are.
Right.
It's unfair that the other folks who were here to believe. I'm sorry, sir, what?
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming today. We're going to, I'm Burrtec Garcia, and I've been asked to moderate this forum. I have not made a public commitment to support any of the candidates. And this forum is sponsored by Robert Porter, and he would like to say a few words to you.
Hello team, I love San Bernardino with all my heart, born and raised here, fourth generation. All I'd like to say is I want to thank the Women's Club for letting us use this building to do this, and then also like to thank the candidates for showing up. I know they all love San Bernardino very much, and I would love to see everyone who's involved in campaigning and stuff as involved later on when the campaign is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert, for doing this. Before I introduce the candidates, I'm just going to ask if you have phones and cameras to put them away. Candidate forums cannot be taped or broadcast without the permission of the sponsor, and the sponsor today is Robert Porter. No portion of this forum can be used in campaign materials. If you have posters or signs, put them down. Candidate materials are available after the forum, back there on the table. Also, the Federal Communication Commission requires that political forums, if authorized, are to be aired in their entirety. Inland Empire Community News has been authorized to record this forum and to air it in its entirety live. Any candidate who uses just snippets of this forum is doing so illegally. This forum, as you know, is to present the candidates for mayor of the city of San Bernardino. And to begin, each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. And the order of the opening has been chosen by lot, and they are seated by lot. After the opening statements, the candidates will respond to questions that were prepared by the hosts of this forum and from the audience. We will be rotating who the first candidate to answer a question is. Then at the end, each candidate will have an opportunity to present a 3-minute closing statement. A 2-minute closing statement. The closing statements will be presented in the same order as the opening statements. All candidate remarks will be timed to ensure equal opportunity for everyone. And our timekeeper today is Linda Nickel. Please raise your hand, Nickel. Oh, Linda, raise your hand. Linda Nolan, I'm sorry, raise your hand. Candidates there. She will raise signs to let you know how much time is left. Please stop promptly when your time is up. There will be cards on which members of the audience may submit a question to the candidates. As you listen to the candidates, you may submit a question on the card and pass it to one of the volunteers who will be circulating for that. Hold your hand up, which somebody already did, and if you need a card or a pencil, please write questions that all candidates address, not specifically addressed to one candidate. Laureen Reenie Richmond is screening the questions that are coming from the audience. Questions, and she will, those questions will be screened for appropriateness and grouped by topic. The candidates are seated left to right in the order in which they will make their opening statements. And each candidate will have 3 minutes for that opening statement. They've been asked to include why they're running for mayor and their qualifications in these opening statements. The first candidate is Carmel Rowe. Oh, you need the mic, Carmel.
Hello, my name is Carmel Rowe, and I'm running to be the mayor of the city of San Bernardino, because for many years, my mother has prayed for the city of San Bernardino. She studied the city of San Bernardino, and ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to make her prayers come to fruition. When I was 30 years old, I was actually having my son, and I couldn't run to be the mayor. I did run in 2012, and prior to then and since then, I have made it my mission to study every single detail about the city of San Bernardino, to get involved in every single thing I can, to investigate every single thing I can. My heart is for San Bernardino. I love San Bernardino with all my heart. My qualifications are, I have a AA from Crafton Hills College and a certificate from San Bernardino Valley College in real estate. I have a BS in marketing with a double minor in public administrations and public relations from Cal State San Bernardino. I have run my own business successfully for about 23 years in the city of San Bernardino. And anybody who knows anything about running a business in the city of San Bernardino knows that 23 years is a very big statement to be able to stay in San Bernardino, create jobs, and keep your lights on. So I am running for this. I am running to be the mayor of the city of San Bernardino so that I can be the voice for we the people, because for far too long we have not been listened to, we have not been heard, our public comments have been cut down, and we the people, we need to be able to have a voice, because we are the people who all of this affects. It affects our children dramatically. So those are my reasons for running to be the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Second candidate is Rick Avila.
Hi, my name is Rick Avila. Born and raised in the city of San Bernardino. Everybody hear me? Our family roots are well over 100 years. It seems like yesterday, this was my playground around this area. It seemed like yesterday I was riding my skateboard on this very same sidewalk back when I was a kid, right here in the Alpha Beta area. But that was when times were safe, people were safe to go outside. Somebody like myself that has been here and born and raised here, it's going to be somebody like me that's tough enough to put my heels in the sand and take on these politics that have been destroying our city. I'm a business owner for over 30 years. My dad started a business when I was 9. He didn't go into business when I was in my 20s. He's retired from the engineering, operator engineering. We're a non-union company, paving company, which I have a general engineering contractor license. And I've done a lot of work here throughout the city, but that separates myself and all my candidates. They're all good candidates, but they don't really understand business and what it takes to bring in revenue for the city of San Bernardino. I've spoke about these warehouses that are being built. One of my candidates spoke on the prime land that these warehouses are being built. You build warehouses on prime property, prime land like Waterman Avenue. You build them in the outskirts if you're going to build any warehouses. But what I want to do for the city of San Bernardino, and I said it before, I ran before, I want manufacturing warehouses with a showroom so we can sell whatever we're manufacturing. That's the revenue we have, and I said this before. Before we went bankrupt, first of all, I don't think we should have went bankrupt in the first place, but we went bankrupt. We were building warehouses. And during bankrupt, we're still building warehouses, full steam ahead, and we're still building them today, and the city's still broke. So that's the problem we have with our government. They don't understand businesses. I do. The bus is another issue that I will address as mayor. My first 100 days, that turn pocket will be back on East Street and Hospitality Lane within my first 100 days, and it's easy to do. The infrastructure is already there. Just change the striping, take those delineators out. There is companies that went out of business under construction, and that's the problem we have with our government. Like I said, they don't understand. It's time up.
No, 30 seconds.
Oh, 30. Okay. And that's a problem with the city as well. Channel 3 is not covering this election like it should be. The Sun Telegram's not covering it like it should be. They're still covering an ex-candidate that was supposed to run, Mike Gallo. They cover that more than the whole entire election. Now, I don't know why it's quiet. The rumor is they don't want to debate with me, but well, thank you.
Gary Davis is the next candidate.
Well, thank you, and I too want to thank the Women's Club for hosting this event. I also want to thank my wife of 45 years, who's here with us today. She's been a great support, and I really couldn't have done what we've accomplished so far if it hadn't been for her support. So 2 questions were asked: why am I running, and what are my qualifications? And I'd like to reverse the order first and tell you why I think I'm qualified. First of all, I'm a CPA. I've had 35 years of successful business experience. I've also have been able to help companies make turnarounds because of the problems they've had. Also, my experience, I believe, gives me that ability to look deep into an organization to be able to help make the changes that are necessary. And also, I have the endorsement of the majority of the City Council. I have the endorsement of the majority of the Board of Supervisors. I have both of our state senators. I have a number of our local neighboring mayors and council members. And so they have seen the work that we've been able to do. I've reached out both locally, regionally, and on the state and federal level to build and strengthen relationships in our community, because we have to be at the table to be able to help the city of San Bernardino get the resources it needs. Otherwise, we're left off the table. And so those are some of the qualifications that I think I bring to the table. Additionally, it's results. I've been very results-oriented, and we've done that. We've accomplished a lot since I was elected. In 2012, the city was looking at a $45 million deficit. And today, our audits are current. We have balanced budgets. We've balanced our budgets for the last 4 years. Additionally, we now have approximately a $30 million reserve. So we've had a huge swing. But one of the other things that's very necessary was to change our charter. The charter was one of the fundamental flaws in our community, and it put us at a disadvantage with other communities. And so once we changed that charter, we brought the city's ability to be able to recruit good talent back into the city. As a result of that, we now have a new city manager who's highly respected with a great deal of talent to be able to start to make the conversion from the old way of doing business to the new way of doing business. And we're on that path. We're making those changes, and we're being effective at being able to recruit talent back here. We need to make sure that we continue with the #1 priority of the city of San Bernardino. Those priorities include making the city safer. And we've started down that road. Is that a 30-second? So one of the things that we needed to do is to readjust the allocation of our resources. And we've been able to do that. Over the last couple of years, we've added about $17 million into the police department budget, and that's allowed us to hire an additional net of about 35 additional police officers. That's very crucial for the city to be able to make itself safer. Our police officers are still not being able to be as proactive as we'd like them to be. Thank you.
thank you to the Women's Club for having us. My name is Gigi Hannah, and I'm the city clerk with the city of San Bernardino. And I took that on 6 years ago, and since then it's been like municipal boot camp. We have had 5 city managers, a recall election. I've seen the degradation of the streets, loss of city jobs, and including currently they're talking about eliminating 21 more positions. And I've heard the people's voice, and they aren't happy about this, and yet they are increasingly quieted at the council meetings, and their participation is not valued. So I decided to step up and run for mayor, and I am uniquely qualified to be mayor of the city of San Bernardino. I came here in '94 as a reporter covering social issues, and specifically how Norton affected the community, its closing. And I moved from that to Metropolitan Water, where I worked government affairs and public affairs, talking to leaders at all levels of government, federal, state, county, and local, about water issues. So I'm very, very in tune with the most precious resource we have here in San Bernardino. I got tired of a 3-hour commute, although it was really helpful to work on my master's in communications. And so I decided to take a job up at the Water Resources at Cal State, where I oversaw the internship program. 25 students a semester. It was the largest internship program on campus. We're getting paid to do projects in this community. So that was a grant-funded position, which the grant dried up, and right around the time that there needed to be a city clerk here in San Bernardino. So I ran, and I am very humble and grateful that you chose me to be your city clerk. And in the time since I've been city clerk, we've had this bankruptcy, we've had a terrorist attack, we've had just a whole slew of issues that affect this community that I'm not seeing many improvements in. We have a quality of life team, but I guarantee none of you can say your quality of life has improved in the last 6 years. And while all that was going on, I was heading a department of 16 people with a budget of over $2 million, with increasingly fewer and fewer and fewer resources. I oversaw the 22,000 business registrations in this city during the bankruptcy, and that has moved now to a different department. I have great relationships because of my position as city clerk. I know who in town gets the work done. I have them on my Rolodex. I'm willing to call, and I'm willing to work with them. I'm running for greater public participation, ethics and campaign finance reform, because the city needs to be cleaned up before any investors will come into town. I want sustainable development and middle-class jobs. I think that Amazon was selling this city out. And I support community policing. Thank you very much.
We have several questions. First, we'll do the questions. We'll work with the questions that were submitted by the committee, and then we will work with the questions that were submitted from the audience. The questions from the committee. Answers. Candidates, they have 3 minutes to answer each one of those questions, and all of them will have a chance to answer each question. We'll rotate the order of the question of the candidates responding. So, the first question is, given our city's history of economic and ethnic divisions, what is your vision of a united city? And we will start with candidate number 3, actually it's 2, but we'll start with Mr. Avila.
Thank you. What makes the city of San Bernardino, I think everybody knows, is Norton Air Force Base in Santa Fe. We have an airport still. It's not functioning like it should be. It's an international airport. We've had a lot of complications last summer, I believe it was, when cargo was idling in the ocean. And we have an airport. China was paying 5 times more just to bring their goods into our country. And as San Bernardino, the Norton Air Force Base, former Norton Air Force Base, it's the longest airstrip in the West Coast. And we're not using it like we should. Years ago, it was raided by a developer that shouldn't even been on the base in the first place. So that's the type of government we've been having. I'm not endorsed by any politician, any group. So that means I don't owe anybody anything. And that's the problem we have. When they're supported by different groups, they have to pay. They have to pay to play. And that's the kind of work you get. In Santa Fe, a lot of jobs were misplaced, going to Kansas as well. But it's going to take somebody like myself that understands business and economics. The manufacturing warehouses brings high-paying jobs. My goal is to have homeowners once again and make homeowners proud of their houses, their streets. There's too many renters, and we all know that. It's not a secret. There's a lot of renters. We need home ownership. It starts off with the city of San Bernardino itself, the city employees. The city is getting rid of a lot of employees. They're subbing everything out, and the subs are not doing their work. The trash, I don't understand why they even sold that in the first place. It was a cash cow. It was making money for the city. They should have. Well, I wanted to do is have a recycling center owned and operated by the city of San Bernardino. They didn't do it. Now we have our streets are a mess. The potholes. You know, we have money set aside. Every single city has money set aside for our infrastructure. Why is it getting done? We don't know. As mayor, I will find that out. I know how to find out. As a business owner, I have to go generate my own revenue. Money's not given to me. We have people that are running, they have a budget by the taxpayers. If they make a mistake, they're not going to get fired. They're not going to go to jail. They're going to get more money from the taxpayers. I can't do that. And that's a problem we have with our city. Help me get the politics out of City Hall and run it more or less like a business. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Thank you. I believe the question was, what will I do to try to help unite our community? And I believe actually we've already started down that path. One of the first things that I did when I entered office was to request that the city council put together a team to look at the charter. We formed a charter review team, and in addition to that, one of the other things that I put together in collaboration with the council, because I felt it was very important to try to help to encourage the council to work on some of those very difficult problems, but to also reach out to the community. And so in 2015, we set up a number of community events, and we went out in collaboration with the school district, and we started collecting data and information from the community to find out what the interests and the needs of our community are. And so through that process then, together with the city council, because I felt it was important to start to help the city council work closely together, we then took a look at the community members throughout our community, and we selected 17 core leaders to then take all of that information that we had gathered from those outreach meetings and then assemble the top goals of our city. And that's what this community, that's what happened. So those 17 core leaders established 7 goals. Those were our community goals. And so it's important, I believe, to make sure that our community is invested in the change that we want to bring about. And one of those was the charter. It was very important for the community to want to make a change in that charter. And so we did that. And as a result of making the change in the charter, we've now established a new path for the city of San Bernardino. Additionally, if you go back several years, you'll see that many of the votes that were taking place were oftentimes split. And today, the majority of the votes that we have are unanimous. And so I think that the uniting of our community starts at the top. It starts with the mayor and it starts with the council. And the council is really showing and put forth their best efforts at being able to make the changes in the city of San Bernardino, tough decisions that we made, but they've made them together. Some of the decisions that we make still have a lot of good, robust discussion, and they're not all unanimous. But for the majority of our decisions today, they're unanimous. They're 7-1 or maybe 7-0. 7-1 maybe when the mayor votes. So the charter was one of the, is that a 30-second? The charter was really the major flaw in our city, and we've made that correction. And today we're on a better path. We're establishing certainty. We're establishing a community and the council that is getting the respect now of those who are looking at the city council and watching how much better we are operating and behaving. Thank you.
Ms. Hannah?
I believe the question actually had to do with economic and ethnic disparity. And I have a plan about Route 66, and I think that is key to us coming together as a community, because there needs to be good housing and there needs to be jobs on the west side, and those jobs aren't going to just be for the west side, that there's business opportunities there. And there are federal funds right now to pay for the revitalization of the Mount Vernon and Route 66 corridor, plus a quarter mile on each side, and that is a significant portion of this city. And it is key to our survival, to our thriving, to embrace our past, what made us special, what put us on the map, put us in that song to lead us forward. And so I think we need to be looking at that. We're only 8 years out from the centennial of Route 66, which means we have a tourist population that we need to tap. They're spending $1,800 a piece on Route 66 to tour the route. San Bernardino needs that money. The other thing I think we need to do is we need to strengthen our community centers so that the kids have a safe place to go, to play, to learn, and to interact with each other and build relationships. And those have been ignored over the past decade. I think we need to strengthen mentoring at the university and Valley College level, so that those kids know what's needed to get a job in this city, so that they can stay in this city, raise their families, build their homes, build their businesses. All of that will bring this community together. For too long, we've been separated. We were separated by the 215 freeway, we're separated by the SBX line, and we need to stop that. We need to build bridges, both physical and relationships, across this city. And I think that will go a long way to address the economic and ethnic disparities in this town. We don't promote from within. We have a city manager who has basically been in the public saying that she didn't feel that city employees were qualified, and so she's paying for outside consultants. That's wrong. While we're cutting positions in this town right now, and they have said that, well, these positions have been open for a couple of years already. That doesn't mean those positions didn't need to be filled. It just meant that we were working on a shoestring budget. We need to promote from within, hire locally, so that we build a middle class. Amazon doesn't make anybody middle class. Everybody in this town has worked for Amazon for 10 minutes. They don't have benefits, they don't have a retirement, and it really does not move people out of the working class into the middle class. That's 30 seconds. So I think that we need to look at a multi-pronged approach, and that means returning phone calls out of City Hall. It means tapping every resource we possibly can, building relationships, whether you agree with somebody politically, socially, whatever. We need to bring everybody in to improve this city, because we fail or we succeed together.
You know, I heard everybody answer the same question differently, so could you repeat the question?
Question was, given the city's history of economic and ethnic divisions, what is your vision of a united city?
Well, my vision of a united city is where we the people work together, not just uptown, not just midtown, and not just downtown working on their own separate pieces, where we create a community of unity because we all have one vision. We need to have public squares where people from this side of town and that side of town can meet up, because, you know, when you run for office, I'm just going to tell you that, you know, not everybody gets their door knocked on. People who don't normally pay attention, they're not invited. You know, I've knocked on a lot of doors and I've invited people. Hey, let's start paying attention. Let's wake up. You know, the people who are the lowest income are the people who are the most economically challenged in this city, are the ones who are the most impacted by the decisions that the city makes. So if we don't actually ask them to participate or show them how to participate, how can we ever even expect them to give back to the community? What I would like to do is educate the people, you know, we the people as one. Now, as far as I have a plan and it's a vision But what I would like to do is I would like to host community meetings where we, the people, come together, and it's not just, hey, the city had a plan, and your idea is not important, because we've all been to those meetings. I'm looking around this room, and everybody in this room knows what I'm talking about. We've been to those meetings where our voices have never been heard. Well, you know what? Our voices need to be heard. Once we have this vision, we need to take it to a vote of the people, so that when I'm no longer the mayor, then that it can continue and continue, because we've had a lot of plans. We've had a lot of plans in this city that never come to. We spend a lot of money planning this city, okay? If we had spent as much time taking action, we might not look around. And in order to build a community of unity, you need to know how to walk on both sides. I've grown up on this side of the freeway my whole entire life, yet I spend my whole entire life downtown between Arrowhead and D, 6th, 7th, Vine, Crescent, the worst street in this city, okay? And you need to know how those people live in order to help them, because if they don't trust you, you can't get anywhere. I've spoken to a number of homeless people. How are you going to get them off the streets if they don't trust you to do the right thing? Last week I spoke to a homeless guy, and all he wanted was a shower. We're having all these discussions, and the homeless people could tell you how to get them off the streets, but we do not listen. Okay, so that is how you create a community of unity, by listening to we, the people, and actively engaging them. Thank you.
The first responder for the next question will be Mr. Davis. And the question is, if you were given complete control of the Carousel Mall today, what would you do?
Board it up. Well, we've already started down the path, as you know. Just recently, we held an auction to auction off the tangible property inside the Carousel Mall. We're working with a developer that has a broad scope of experience, and that developer also sees the potential for the downtown. The Carousel Mall is closely connected with Theater Square and the 5th Street corridor, and so that entire downtown area is really an opportunity to turn that back into a jewel for the city of San Bernardino. There are a number of areas in our community that are thriving. The airport is doing very well. We have a lot of interest in Burrtec. But the downtown, and especially the Carousel Mall, is an area that we believe will help the city to once again revitalize the central core of the city. The plan for the downtown is a mixed-use facility. In the past, we've had a mall there, but we're actually trying to correct mistakes of probably 40 years in the making over that has caused part of the problem for the downtown. We have a number of other areas that have developed, and it has actually sucked a lot of that business away. But today, we see the opportunity, and a developer is very interested in helping to turn that into a mixed-use facility. We are starting to see some life in the downtown. Recently, the Andresian building was sold. It was sold to a business that is a tech business. He is taking that building and he is rehabbing it. The Andresian is the building just north of the Harris building. And it'll be one of the catalysts that'll start to help to improve the development of the downtown. His plan is to occupy the 5th floor of the Andresian building to take his business and expand it there. He's a business that serves the logistics industry. He sees how the market is demanding the ongoing logistics development because of the movement of goods through our corridor. And so this entrepreneur sees the value in our downtown. So he purchased that with the vision of expanding his business there, as well as having it rehabbed so that new tenants can also occupy it. And he already has lined up approximately 9 new tenants. And so it is the start and the catalyst of the downtown. And I believe, just like UPS coming to our airport, which is now creating additional demand and competition for for space at our airport, I believe the Andresian will also be one of those catalysts to help our downtown. The mixed-use facility will be a combination of residential, a combination of commercial, and a combination of retail. And it's very well situated. It's a result of the the transit center, that multimodal station that we have that is just, 30 seconds went fast. Thank you very much.
I thought that the sale of the Carousel Mall was one of the saddest things to happen to this city. I remember when I first moved to San Bernardino and I went into the mall, I saw that and I thought it was so magical, and that's just based on my personal love of carousels. And we've got, what, $79,000 for it? So it was a tragedy. If I had complete control of the Carousel Mall, the first thing I would do was see what the community wanted in that space. I have my own ideas of what I'd like to see. I would like to see a walkable downtown, and I think the mall is part of that. I'd like us to keep our historic buildings. We have torn down too much of our history, and we keep doing that, and that's other cities embrace it, and we seem to be embarrassed. And the mall itself is a monument to the mistakes the city has made over the decades in its planning. I mean, the fact that the mall fell into disrepair partially had to do with the fact that the center of the roof was owned by a different entity than the sides of it, and so they could not agree on putting a new roof in. And so, you know, I think the community needs to decide whether they want that mall. I'd like to see outlet malls. I mean, I'm not much of a shopper, but I would rather shop here in San Bernardino than go to Cabazon or to Murrieta or to Barstow. And that would attract a lot of outside money into San Bernardino. They'd leave their tax money here and then go. And I think that's a great opportunity, but again, I would put it to the people. Another possibility would be an Olympic Sports Center. Again, it's something that brings in outside money. It is a healthy activity that we can show our kids that there are opportunities out there, both in sports and just for just to meet people coming in from the outside. Who has reason to get off the freeway right now in San Bernardino? We need to change that. So I do think that we need to do a walkable downtown, and I think part of that is eminent domaining those empty buildings with absentee landlords. We're not talking about kicking little old ladies out of their houses, which eminent domain often makes you think of. We're talking about foreign and outside owners who are adding to the blight in San Bernardino. And so I envision whatever happens at the Carousel Mall to tie in clear over to the courthouse, make it walkable, bikeable, have cafes so that people can sit and enjoy our beautiful weather, our mountains, and what makes San Bernardino special. And again, my heart breaks for that carousel being gone. I wish I'd had the money to buy it. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'd get the party started, all right? I'd go right on downtown and get the party started. Our downtown is dead. If you go anywhere else in downtown, as a matter of fact, I was just in downtown Riverside last night taking my daughter to a party. And there are people walking, there are people eating, there are people being friendly, there are people going on dates. We have nothing like that here. If we built an amphitheater in the Carousel Mall, if we had mixed-use housing, if we had housing around the mall so people could actually walk to the mall, if you go to Victoria Gardens, that mall, they're never going to go out of business because they've created their own customers. We don't have customers, so we could say we're going to do retail and shopping and food and this and that, but if nobody's going to go there, what's the point? Okay, we need the housing. We need the housing to go around it, and if we build it, they will come. We are lacking middle-class housing here in this city. We are lacking any kind of destination point for this city. I drive down D Street at night. I love D Street at night. I love E Street. It's so quiet. Okay, it's the quietest place in the city, and the streetlights are on. Okay, but how do we bring people downtown with no downtown and with no housing and without being able to walk? So what we need is we need restaurants, we need jazz, we need people dancing, we need people singing. We need to bring back the square. You know, we need hotels. We need to turn 5th Street into 5th Avenue. We need to have retail. You need to be able to walk from one block to the other. Okay, right now we have nothing. Okay, if you go and if you stay in the Hilton Homewood Suites and on their refrigerator, and this is over there by Staples, you know, they list all the things to do. I'm going to tell you, there's nothing that they list to do in the city of San Bernardino. People have to go elsewhere. There is nothing. Our downtown needs to be free-flowing, free-loving, full of energy, vibrant. You know, in the community, I talk to them. They all got a bunch of different ideas. So if we take the ideas that are kind of semi-already there, the kind of semi-already planned, and we build around them, or we actually build them. You know, the transient center that we built is not actually the transient center that we were supposed to build. If we would have built what we were supposed to build, we would have all seen San Bernardino beautiful. Where they were supposed to put that hospital was supposed to be on this side of the bus station, down there on Rialto and E. That was supposed to be this big major monument. And there was supposed to be water and shopping, and it wasn't meant to kill the businesses. It was actually meant to enhance them. But at the last minute, the Mayor Morris decided, oh, I'm going to pull the plug and do this light rail to Redlands. And now we have what we have, which is nothing. We have no traffic. We have no people. Everything would have been paid for by the private sector. We need philanthropic investment. We need public. We need private. Because guess what? If this city doesn't have an infusion of money, an infusion of love, what are we really going to get? Thanks.
Does anybody know the city hall's closed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where it says Carousel Mall on Second, that would have been City Hall, San Bernardino City Hall. I would put City Hall where the mall's at. You would have had all the departments there. You can have restaurants there again, the way it was. What they want to do is what we already had it. So they want to knock it down and build it again. What Carmel's saying, housing. Put housing down there as well. You have to be an open mind. My opponent said it, I agree with her. Some of these, a lot of ideas, a lot of people, if they didn't think of it, they didn't want it. And one other thing I want to know, how much are we paying for rent? All of our departments. You know, I'm a business person. If we already own the mall, guess what? We're all going in the mall. We're not going to rent these high-rise buildings, separate all these departments. I'm a contractor, and it's hard for me to get permits. I got to go to this building, go to that one, that floor, and I live here. Can you imagine the people that come from out of town, Orange County, that develop here? They don't know where to go. Their address is different. You know, we have to understand the economics and the plan that we did have for the city of San Bernardino. When I ran in 2009, the plan was to knock it down back in 2009. It's still there. Now in 2009, I mentioned knock it down and let's build a 14,000 seat arena. We can have, and they said, well, Ontario's got one, so we have one too. That brings in revenue and brings in jobs. We can have, whenever the Lakers play at Ontario, it brings a big crowd. That's revenue. People, we have to understand that. And the politicians don't understand it. If you drive around our city, business people didn't destroy it. Homeowners didn't destroy it. It's the politicians that destroyed it. People, we need to wake up and understand the difference between politics and business. And I can just keep going on forever, but thanks for, is that it? I still got more time?
You've got
Well,
44 seconds.
Well, if we have all retail, and that's another thing, if you want to have housing, if you want to have, make it into City Hall, this is where I can come in as a mayor. I know the permit process. The permit process it's a headache. In February, I went to go get a permit just to put a 4-inch conduit from one side of the street to the other. The guy over the counter wanted me to draw a whole new set of plans. I said, the plans are going to be more than what the job's worth. So we need people that understand business, understand developers, understand contractors, investors. We have to throw the red carpet out, not the red flags. Thank you.
Thank you all. Our next question, candidate number 5 will be the first to respond, and the question came from both the audience and the committee, and so I've sort of combined that. As our mayor, what is your plan to ensure that there's money for the arts in the budget, and how will you do it, and how much?
Thank you, Dottie. I am so proud of having saved the Fine Arts Commission and the grants that they provided to the arts organizations and the artists in this town through the bankruptcy. And we did that by taking a very small amount of the development impact fees, $200,000 a year, to keep the doors open and a sense of normalcy and what other cities and people in other cities get to experience. So I'm very, very supportive of the arts, and they have decided that those fees are not appropriate to use for grants going forward. So I think that there are sources of funding that can be used. Some cities use parts of their transient occupancy tax. That's what people who stay in hotels here in town spend. And right now, the Chamber of Commerce is reporting 100%, near 100% occupancy whenever they have one of those events at the Orange Show. And so we have outside money coming in. There's also the opportunity for tax increment financing. That would have to go to the voters, but we do have pools of money, and it takes very little to keep things alive. But those grants over the last 6 years have kept the symphony running. They've kept art programs in schools. They've kept artists alive, including Mr. Jewell, who did the Rosa Parks statue that's now downtown. And it was the first time that we have had a major piece of public art put up in this town. And I was instrumental in getting state funding for that as well. So I think we need to harness our partners at the state to help here in town for artists, because, you know, artists are our smallest of small businessmen and women. And again, it provides a sense of normalcy in this city while we work our way out. Currently, I'm actually chair of the Wine Glass Circle at the Symphony, which we have commissioned a symphonic piece about San Bernardino, celebrating San Bernardino's history. And it is going to be debuted in October. And it is, Wine Glass is the name of the composer, an African-American man, very well known, very well respected, and he will be putting elements of our history musically into that piece. So I am very experienced in supporting the arts. I spend my time and my money in various situations here. I'm actually even working on opening a nonprofit glass studio at the Garcia Center, hopefully later this year, but I'm a bit busy right now.
Well, I love the arts. My daughter is an artist. I am not. I can't draw. I couldn't draw anything to save my life. I can't sing. I'm more of a bookworm. But I do understand the importance of the arts and what it means for our children. You see, in this city, we have a real disconnect with our children of the city. There's nothing for them to do. There's no extracurricular activities for them to do. What we need to do is we need to incorporate the arts starting in elementary school, going all the way up. And how we can fund the arts now that we're not funding them anymore. A cultural development fee for businesses or buildings that are over $500,000. In LA, if you build something over $500,000, you have to either build some art in your city or you have to contribute to some sort of art program within that city. This city, you know, we are going to rebuild this city. This city is over 100 years old. When we are rebuilding this city and in our plan, art should be a major part of this plan. When you get off of the freeway in this city, our image should be art. Our image should be art and entertainment and love. Okay, we need to go ahead and we should have Route 66 signs throughout our city. We should have the rich orange history in our city. We should ask the school children, hey, come up with a logo for our city. Come up with a street sign for our city. You know, I just always remember that when they did this arts project, they put these balls all over downtown. And they looked like a bunch of trash. But they were thrown with some art all over it. And I thought to myself, man, that is such a waste of money for the art. That doesn't even look like art. I mean, if we had monuments like the Statue of Liberty or the Eiffel Tower on Baseline and East Street, okay, if we had water fountains, all of these things are art. So after school programs, community of unity, our children impacted getting everybody involved, because when you say art, you say music. When you say music, you say entertainment. There's a lot, I've talked to a lot of people. So many people have good ideas about the entertainment that they would like to see in our city, that they would like to bring to this city. Hollywood has tried to come, but they can't get anywhere. When people from the outside try to come here to this city, The door is always closed. And the ones that we open the door to are the ones that we constantly get taken advantage of, and that is by design. We need to set the bar high. Hey, you come to our city, we need architecture. We need water. This is the design that we need in our city. You need to incorporate the kids. You need to pay for the art. You know what? People are making money if they come here because we have the best location around. We just don't have, we have land, but we don't have a city hall or a planning department that actually lets that be possible. You know, I was talking to this kid, and he's built a lot of things or done a lot of things in the city. I'm not going to say his name, but I said, man, how do you get through the planning department? Because I've been doing this for a lot of years. And he says, quite honestly, we don't pull permits. I said, what do you mean? He said, we have it all done to code. It's all ready. Okay, but we don't pull permits because we never get anything done. Thanks.
The arts and entertainment is a department for every city to show off their city, show their image, what our city is all about. The Route 66 is a big deal here in the city of San Bernardino. It was. I'll bring it back as mayor. 5th and Mount Vernon is that's where I want to target more or less our city with the Route 66. I want to get a pedestrian bridge crossing over 5th Street, and right in the middle of that intersection with pavers, Route 66, let these people know San Bernardino where they're at. I want to thank Ralph Hernandez back in the day for redoing the stack at Santa Fe. That's an iconic stack. We could have saved the round table as well. A lot of things we could have saved, even Norton Air Force Base. We got to let them know that we have an international airport as well. But we have to, she's right, we have to get our kids involved. And to draw these up, draw these arts and entertainment, these plans, let these kids do it and have scholarships for them, have incentives, reward them for doing this. We have all these, we have 2 colleges, one of them is worldwide, Cal State. People from all over the world come to Cal State. And we don't have a arts and entertainment program like we should have. All up and down Mount Vernon, I want to brighten up the way the city of Colton is from the 10 freeway all the way to the city limits. I don't know if anybody's ever driven on Mount Vernon. It's all lit up with islands in the middle, with landscaping in the middle. Do that all the way up Mount Vernon. It's the Route 66, if you think about it, everybody here in the movie industry, and they've driven through Route 66. Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope, all these people have driven here. There's nothing to show the people, hey, look, San Bernardino, we were famous at one time. Just this last April, I go fishing in Bishop, and it's quite a ways away. On the way back from Convict Lake, the sign said, I was going to take a picture, it was too late. It was San Bernardino, 281 miles. I mean, that was back in the day. And we have a lot more other entertainment we can have. McDonald's was first built here. That's known as worldwide restaurant. All the other ones, Baker's. We have all these iconic restaurants that started here on E Street from Baseline to Highland. I want to open up all these shops again. Throw an arch around over E Street. Do something different. We already get people here, but they go there and see it. It's terrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I do believe also that arts play an important role in the culture of our community. My mother was a violinist, and for a number of years she serves as the librarian for the Guthrie Music Library. And I had an opportunity to be able to firsthand see the work that goes into the love that she had for music. And she blessed me with that throughout her life. And so I do have an appreciation for the arts in our community. Recently was able to be part of a budget workshop, our current budget workshop for the upcoming 18-19 budget year. And in that budget, we've included $300,000 for the arts and for fine arts. So myself and the council, if this council approves that, will continue to fund the arts in our community. I've also been very supportive of the symphony in our community. I work very closely with our city manager and with the former president of the symphony board, former Mayor Baez, to help to keep the symphony in the California theater, because I think that's a very important public space for us, and that symphony draws throughout the region. It's an excellent asset for our community. It's one of the few longest standing symphonies in our community, in the entire region. We also have added into our Parks and Recs department an additional employee, because we do recognize the need for parks, recreation to be sustained, and so we'll continue to support the arts and recreation. I had an opportunity today to attend a groundbreaking up at the shops. That's the area just next to Cal State San Bernardino, where you've seen the Glen be developed up there, which is increasing the assessed value. And the first phase of that was 3 shops. The second phase of that was the groundbreaking today. And while I was there, I had an opportunity to meet a producer at HGTV. And he's very interested in our city and would like to do a piece on us. And so I've arranged with that producer to meet with him on Tuesday and take him out to the airport. And so I do think it's very important to continue to show the good side of San Bernardino, and there are those now that are interested in making that more public. So thank you very much.
The next, we'll have one more question from the committee, and then we will deal with, I'm sorry, Carmel. I'm going to get you a turn. Did you answer this? You all answered. That's what I thought. You all answered it. I thought you were getting up. The next question, which you have 3 minutes to answer, and we will start with Ms. Rowe on that one. And it is, where does the city's money come from, and where is it spent, and how do you plan to spend it in the future?
Okay, well, I've looked at the city's money. 76 million of it goes to the police department. Then there's like a small sliver that pays for other things in the city. But we have, besides our general fund, we have other money like grant money and HUD money and various different things. And over the years, especially the last 6 of them when I've been on the committee, I've seen just the total mismanagement of the funds. It's been pulled from all the nonprofits. Most of that access center, basically, it paid the high up people to run it. It wasn't really very helpful to the people who needed it. We have a user utility tax. We have, besides transient occupancy tax, we have a tourism tax on a hotel. So there's it's like about 28 cents, 32 cents. And I've often wondered, where does that money go? I've never really seen it. And if you're taking a tourism tax for people and you don't have anything for tourists, where'd the money go? So that's actually a question that I have. I would look into it, because the guy at the Hilton Garden Inn, the manager of the Hilton Garden Inn, told me that just on that small tax alone, they write a check to $35,000 a month to the county tax assessor for the city of San Bernardino. So we also need grant writers. You know, this whole time that we've been in and out of bankruptcy, you know, I've been waiting for somebody just to hire one darn grant writer. You know, I reached out to a person, her name is Victoria Leone, and I reached out to her because I had been wondering, hey, what has she not been in this community? And she sent me all these grants and all this, and all this funding. And I'm like, this city is a depressed city. We would receive all of that. You know, we would receive all of that money to go ahead and do what we need to do. But we have money. We just don't have the right intentions. If we had the right intentions, the money that we have would be able to transform and sustain the city. You know, we have the city block grant funds. If we get between $3.5 and $7.5 million a year, What if we just paid the rent for the homeless for 36 months at $450,000 a year? Some people you might only have to pay for 12 months. Some people would end up in the hospital. Some people would, you know, be productive. Some people would get to the end of their 36 months and they would be on some other program. But if we just use the money that we have, I mean, we are a city, we get money, okay? If we only use that money for the right purpose and for the vision of we the people, instead of hiring consultant firms, instead of paying attorney fees, I mean, we are in so much litigation, it's pathetic. If we just only said, hey, me when I'm the mayor, hey, let's just settle. We're gonna settle this, we're gonna stop the bleeding. Okay, and settling doesn't mean we're paying somebody out. Settling means is, hey, we're gonna listen to you. We're gonna care about you. We're gonna solve your problem. And their problem might not necessarily be money. Their problem might just be what they are trying to get accomplished in this city. Thank you.
Retail, retail, retail. That's bringing money in. Revenue. That brings all the revenue in. That's how we live off these cities. That's how I live off my company. Revenue. You can't, money, like I said, doesn't grow on trees. As mayor, I would find out where all the money's at. Every single city has money set aside for infrastructure, for your PD. Every city has it. Now, why is our city in fire? Why was it 75% of our income? Because we didn't have enough income coming in to cover it in the first place. Our trash, why would you even sell it? It was bringing you money. That's the part I'm trying to get everybody here. These politicians aren't making right decisions. They're making decisions for their friends. Now, can we prove that? Maybe. I can. If I'm mayor, I can do that. It's the way they're spending money. Now, like we said, the city hall, why would you even rent another place when you already have a mall that you can put all your departments in? If it was up to me, I would have 10 Costco's in this city. But what we need to do is bring back car dealers. Car dealers is heavy on sales tax. Fontana is just cleaning house with the 210 we have. We had all these car dealers. Major appliances, malls are gone. Montgomery Ward, J.C. Penney, these are all gone. People don't realize, but they would rather build a warehouse that brings nothing to the city, no revenue to the city. Somebody is getting some steak dinners out of these deals, and as mayor, if I find anything out of the ordinary, I will circle the wagons around the city with FBI agents. Because something is happening. We are making money. You drive up and down the street, we see cars. They're stopping at our restaurants. They're going to our stores. Grocery stores are full. Gas, people are putting gas in. We do have the utility tax we do have. Every time somebody turns on a light switch, it goes to the city. We have some vacant buildings, but not all of them are vacant. We do have money coming in. And yes, as mayor, I will find out where the money's at. As a business owner, I have to know. You can probably, after the election's over, you can see how much I'm actually spending on my election. I'm not just throwing money away. I have probably less, well, maybe 25% of the signs that some of these, Mr. Sign Man had, he's not here. But if I would have known he was going to run, I would have maybe got into the sign business. Would have made a fortune. But ladies and gentlemen, it's revenue, and that's where, as a business owner, this is where it'd be a little different than my opponents. Thank you.
Apologize, I walked out. I believe the question is, what is our source of revenues and what
It
are...
has to do with where does the city money come from and where is it spent and how do you plan to spend it in the future?
Thank you. Well, there are a number of resources of revenue for the city. Sales tax is the largest. Next then is property tax, utility users tax, franchise tax, and charges. The transit occupancy tax, Measure Z, Measure I, gas tax, development impact funds, and then we also receive grants. The largest piece of our budget goes to the police department. And then I think the next is Public Works, our Parks Department, City Attorney's Office, Community Development, and then the other general government departments that are providing services. The city's current budget is slated for approximately $166 million plus about another $30 to $40 million in capital improvement. That capital improvement is actually increasing quite a bit as a result of now being able to have the capacity to be able to recruit good talent back into the city. Our new Public Works Director is doing an excellent job of being able to accomplish the work that we've put forward in our capital improvement plan. In the past, the city was only able to accomplish about 25% of its capital improvement plan. And with our new Public Works Director, we're now looking at almost accomplishing 90% of that. And part of that is a result, as I said earlier, being able to establish that the city is on the right path, being able to recruit good talent back in. We have an excellent Public Works Director that now is able to harness the resources that we have and put them to good use. And so the budget for the current year is once again balanced, but it's very tight. The ongoing pension costs that the city has continue to rise, and part of that has to do with CalPERS. It also has to do with the more generous and really unsustainable formula that was put in place a number of years ago, which we are still working at trying to overcome. And one of the ways we've done that is we've put in place a tiered system so that new employees coming on board do not get that same allocation or that accrual for pensions as the current employees that were hired before that changed. And so it's very important that we continue to watch our budget, but we also need to make sure that we have an adequate reserve and that reserve will help us during those downtimes. And so one of the things that I strove very hard is to make sure that we do keep a reserve and that we continue to maintain that reserve so that in the future we'll be able to sustain ourselves through the downturn. Thank you.
So unlike several of my opponents, I don't have to wonder where the money is coming from or where it's being spent. I actually know. The mayor's right. We have sales tax, property tax grants, various other taxes. Where it's going, well, 70% goes to salaries, most of that to public safety. A lot of it goes to paying off litigation, and it has been significant in this city. It will continue to be significant. Right now we have $108 million in deferred maintenance costs, so if you're worried about your darkened streets and your dirty streets and your potholes, you're probably going to be worrying for quite a while now. In the last question, the mayor said that they had talked in this budget meeting yesterday, which one of our missing opponents didn't bother to go to, and I thought that was kind of sad, that they had agreed in principle possibly to a proposal for $300,000 for the arts. However, by the end of that meeting, they'd also approved voting $150,000 for another consultant about a tax measure on the November ballot. So I think we're spending an awful lot of money on outside consultants that are not helping the city, that are not moving us forward. It's delaying work. It's also distracting us from the jobs at hand. That's one of my concerns is there's a real big push in the city to increase the sales tax, and that it's likely to be on the November ballot. And my question is, is this city, beyond paying $150 to a consultant, $50,000 to a consultant to convince the public that this is a good idea, how are we going to, in good conscience, ask the people of this city to pay more taxes when the taxes they pay already aren't paying for what they were supposed to be paying for? And yes, Palm Springs gets $1.50 more for sales tax than San Bernardino, but they have something to show for it. When you go downtown, there's things to look at, there's things to do. And so, yeah, if I lived in Palm Springs and somebody said, you know what, I want you to pay more taxes and to make the city better, I'd be willing to. But I think this city is going to be hard pressed to convince any of you guys that you want to pay more money and for getting nothing. And the problem is that the pendency plan, our bankruptcy recovery plan, was based on a sales tax increase. So the question is, that reserve that we have right now, starting next year, we're going to have a deficit. And it's going to continue on for 20 years, up to $20 million deficit. So exactly, we need to be asking how we're going to deal with that in the next 20 years when people cannot see any good coming out of the taxes they're already paying.
We're now going to look at some of the questions that were submitted by the audience. And the first one, which ties in with one of the candidates' comments already, but I think everybody needs a chance to answer this. This is the question, and it starts out as a statement. Our city hall was built in 1972 by Cesar Pelli, a world-famous architect, to the highest safety standards. Will you allow the building to remain closed past 2019? Will you immediately apply for grants and loans to retrofit, improve, and open it? And you each have 2 minutes to reply to that, and we're starting with, who did we start with last?
You're starting with Rick.
Starting with, is that right?
Yeah, you started.
Okay, all right. That's good. Yes.
You know, when you close City Hall, I think they should have already had that plan.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't, hey, everybody get out. There's going to have an earthquake.
Right.
Of course we're going to have an earthquake, but there's older buildings throughout the state. Without that plan, you know, we have to get bids. We have to see if it's even worth saving, retrofitting, or knock it down. I know he's a famous architect, but if it's going to cost too much, I don't. You know, it's a hard. If it's an easy fix that we don't know. We had an earthquake the other day. Did anybody go check and see there's new cracks? If there's no cracks, why even move out of it in the first place? You know, we're the only city across the state, the only city hall that's closed down because of we're gonna have an earthquake. You know, Nostradamus said the world's gonna end. You know, we're not all building, you know, bunkers.
We're all going down.
You know, this is reality. This is what's happening in the city of San Bernardino, and who's doing this? Politicians.
Consultants.
Right now, yeah, consultants, hiring consultants. As a mayor, I'm the consultant. You don't have to hire anybody. I'll be the consultant, and I'm already getting paid as a mayor. So you know, some of these are all common sense questions and answers. I would like to save the building. They should have had a plan before. And how much is it really going to cost you taxpayers, us? How much is it going to really cost? If you do knock it down, the developer will foot the bill for the whole thing. And they'll build, it's going to benefit not only the developer, the investors, but the entire city of San Bernardino. Thank you.
Can I ask you to repeat the question? Could you repeat the question?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. The question had to do with City Hall, and the question actually has, will you allow the building to remain closed past 2019? Will you immediately apply for grants and loans to retrofit, improve, and open it?
Well, I don't think that it's possible to really give a definite timing on that, but we have already been looking at the possibility of being able to retrofit the building to make it earthquake safe. And we are looking at grants already to see if we can get some dollars to help in that project. Our downtown, our City Hall, it's the place for City Hall. It's unfortunate when it was originally built. It was built where it probably shouldn't have been, but today the water table has dropped significantly, and so that liquefaction is not quite the factor it used to be. But we are looking at the possibility of being able to take and rehouse all of City Hall back into that building. We do believe it's a good public space, and it is a place where the community comes. We want to be able to restore it to a usable condition. Additionally, though, as a result of the city moving from 1,300 employees to current budget at about 725 employees, we have the ability to actually house all of the City Hall's employees and then have space left over to be able to potentially lease some of that, so that it could actually become a way to help to finance the ongoing cost of City Hall. And so that's one of the plans that we're looking at right now. We're hoping to be able to find that economically it makes sense. Our city manager's been looking to find technologies that will allow the city hall to be retrofitted effectively. Is that a 0 time or 30 seconds?
They're at 24 seconds.
Okay, thank you. So yes, there is currently an existing effort at being able to preserve City Hall and once again be able to house City Hall's employees and then turn it back into the public space that it has been and that our community feels is very important. Thank you very much.
So moving everybody out of City Hall was a PR stunt gone bad. It was designed for the administration to look responsive and caring to the employees, but it was no more dangerous there than when they moved us out as it was, 10 years earlier or it is today. And it had the effect of completely separating the public from their government. You cannot get to your government right now if you have to go into Van Tower, which has also been said to be earthquake unsafe. So if that was done for safety reasons, it was not well thought out. I was talking to Eloise Reyes in February, and she was asking me about the retrofit plans for City Hall, which I do support, and I would want that to happen by 2019 because we need to get back into City Hall as soon as possible. And she was throwing ideas around. I said, Eloise, this is a fascinating discussion, but why are you talking to me about this? Why aren't you talking to the mayor or the city manager? And she says, well, quite honestly, you call me back. And we take too long to make decisions, and we're taking too long for this in particular. We need an iconic City Hall. We need to be accessible to the public. People have to travel around to 3 or 4 different areas right now to figure out how to pay a bill or how to file a claim. And if they want to talk to their council member or mayor, they have to go past a guard up 7 flights if they can get past that guard to talk to them. And I'm sorry, this is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And the way we're doing it right now is cutting the people out. So yes, I do support retrofitting of City Hall. It can be done. There are developers who are very interested in doing it right now. And Eloise Reyes wanted to actually put that in the budget, this year's state budget request, retrofitting a City Hall, but she didn't get that call back in time. So we need to pay attention to our local and state partners that can help us in any situation, not just City Hall retrofit.
Thank you.
Well, in my investigations, I don't necessarily know that the City Hall needs to be retrofit. Depends on who you talk to. There's one report says it does, one report says it doesn't. One consultant this guy paid, one consultant this guy paid. So what you really need to do before you go and even retrofit something that may or may not be retrofit is actually know. From everything that I have heard, that there's been reports and they've been trying to do this year after year after year, but nobody could really do it because it doesn't need to be retrofit. Now, moving everybody out of City Hall, it was pretty horrible. I mean, it was already bad enough to get through City Hall. Now you got to try to find out where you're going. Your business license is down here. This guy is over here. The planning department in our city is horrible. Okay, I mean, I have got to say we have the worst planning department in the city of San Bernardino, and I have been actively working with them for over 23 years. Now, if all we did was put a little button outside that said, hey, how are we doing with the happy face, a sad face, I bet you we could turn the planning around in about a month. Okay? As far as, as long as City Hall was safe, why not go move back in? I mean, everybody, I've been to a bunch of these forums, and everybody's out here talking about bad landlords and eminent domain. But the city's the worst landlord we have. Yeah. Okay? They have all the boarded up buildings. They have the most fancy stuff. Okay? I mean, I'm going to tell you that I have a business now in Riverside with a friend of mine, and it's an auto dealer. Now, when we went down to get this business license in Riverside, It was a one-stop shop where there was food in their city hall. They paged you. They called your cell phone. They texted you. I was in and out of there in 10 minutes, and I left with my business license in my hand. They did not have to mail it to me. We need a functional city hall, and I think the one that we had, besides the fact that it needed to be painted because it was real ugly in there, okay, I mean, I think that, seriously, it was all gray. I mean, it reminded me of being in jail, okay, when I was in there. So, I guess that's my time, thanks.
We've all answered that question, right? The next question, and again, you have 2 minutes, and we start with the mayor. We start with Mr. Davis. And this is the question. With the new charter in place, a city manager runs the city. The mayor appears to be more of a figurehead than a power. With this in mind, what can you actually do as mayor?
So the new charter that was passed in 2016, and we've been going through aligning the municipal code with the new charter, does a number of things. It puts the city manager in the role as CEO, where in the past the city was stuck in this hybrid that was really very ineffective. We used to have a strong mayor. We started moving to council manager form of government, and then we got stuck. And then we finally, in November, we made that change. So one of the changes it did was it put the city manager in charge as the CEO, and the mayor and the city council as the policymakers. In the past, you actually had a couple of competing policymakers because you had an elected city attorney, elected city clerk, elected city treasurer. And oftentimes their first job is to get reelected, wherein in most cities of our size, the job of those functions, city attorney, city clerk, and city treasurer, is to be a support role to the city council and the city manager. And so we made that role change so that now the mayor and the city council act as the policymakers. In the past, it was very difficult for much to get done through City Hall because of the confusing lines of authority, because oftentimes the city council, city manager, the mayor, the city attorney, they would be going directly to the department heads and giving direction, so it was very confusing organizational structure. Today we've made that change, and now the mayor serves as the legislative head, the person who's working with the city council to make those policy changes, and so it's working much better. We still have a ways to go, and that's why we hired a very experienced former CAO to help in that transition, helping the city council to understand its role and helping the directors of the departments to understand their role. And we're moving very effectively, I believe, in converting over to a fully city council, council manager form of government.
We hired a very expensive consultant to help our city manager do her job. The role of the mayor in this kind of government is to be a visionary, to have ideas and then bring the council and the community together to make those ideas happen, and the city manager carries out what the vision is. Our problem is we don't have a council and a mayor with a vision right now. We have, they did agree, which I'm very proud of them, they did agree to get along. And they're doing well, but I think we need to move beyond that, because beyond getting along together, we need to have a coalesced vision. And right now, we don't have that in this city. And so I do believe that the role of the mayor in this particular form of government is to be a champion for the city, a champion for the employees, a champion for middle-class work, for clean neighborhoods, for safe streets. And yes, the mayor's not out there sweeping the streets themselves or fixing the potholes, which are legion. The mayor and the council give the city manager marching orders and make sure that those marching orders are followed. That's not happening. Make sure that the phone calls get called back from, like, say, Disney, who called and wanted to build a 200 to 400,000 square foot facility in this town, which is middle-class jobs, which is a international corporation, and did not get a call back. And perhaps it should have come from the city manager's office, but at least the mayor's office could have called back and said, wow, we are honored, I'll make sure that gets done. That's not getting done. And so what we need in this town is a visionary mayor with a plan and the ability to bring the council along with them. Thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to say that that I am the one who has been explaining over and over and over again what the mayor's job has been. And I am finally happy to hear that somebody realizes what the mayor's job has been. The mayor's job is to be the head of the city, is to be the visionary, is to come up with a plan and then solicit this council to go along with the plan so that we can all move in harmony. Okay? The mayor is not to go about doing the day-to-day or to boss around employees. The mayor and the council are the policy makers, and they are to instruct the city manager. And the city manager, she says, oh, I have 1,000 employees. No, she has about 6 or 8 because she deals with the department heads, and the department heads deal with their own employees. Okay, so as the mayor, you need to have a vision, you need to have a plan, and you need, not only do you need to enlist the council, you need to enlist the community. If you don't have the community support in the city, really, what can you get done? If you do not hear their words, how far can you go? Okay, we don't hear our words. Up here, there's a lot of elected officials. Nobody hears us. Nobody listens to us. And nobody really has a plan. Well, I have a vision between Highland and Waterman, Highland and Mill, Waterman and Mount Vernon, okay, which will help the growth in Uptown and Midtown and Downtown. We will create a community of unity with bike paths and green paths, okay, and it is the job of the mayor to harmonize everybody and everything. And if a person cannot do that, if a person can't be nice to everybody, then they are not going to be able to even accomplish the people's vision, because you got to know how to give and how to take.
Thanks. The old charter didn't bankrupt the city. As mayor, I would bring that old charter back. This new charter we have, this new charter we have, there's room for corruption. This new charter we have, and that's city
Excuse
manager.
me a minute, excuse me, Mr. Avila. Please do not shout out when the speaker is speaking.
Start over again. The old charter didn't bankrupt the city. I would bring back the old charter. The new charter we have is there's room for corruption. The department heads, the reason why it went wrong, the mayor had, all the department heads were appointed. Now the people who put the mayor in office, this is where a good example you have to pay to play. They hired their friends, next door neighbors, brothers, whoever. And that they weren't hiring qualified department heads. They were all political department heads, and I'm living proof of it. The engineering department was a political head. Had nothing to do, didn't know anything about engineering. They had directors and the engineer. Back in the days during Roger Hargrave, he was a director, he was the engineer. He wore 2 hats. This is the problem where they were overspending. And this is a good example. These politicians, they overspend. As a business owner, we can't do that as a business. If they spend the way they are now, we'll be out of business. And anybody here own a business? Is anybody here? Am I right? I mean, can we just spend? We can't. We have to know where the money's going. We got to spend it right. Thank you.
The next question from the audience is, and it's very difficult for me to read this, but why would we want to outsource parks or any other department in the city? The city manager, this person says, the city manager is looking into outsourcing. And you have 2 minutes to answer that.
Actually, according to the proposed budget that was presented yesterday, any outsourcing of parks won't be taking place in the next year or so. In fact, I believe they got another employee. But quite honestly, the reason that the city looks at outsourcing is because then they don't have to pay benefits, then they don't have to pay PERS, and it's far easier on the city manager to control a consultant than an employee that might be part of an employee union. I'm really concerned about the outsourcing of animal control. I think that we need to keep that in town. Because the conversation has been about taking them to Riverside, and right now we have a hard enough time getting people to take stray animals to San Bernardino. You know they're not going to go to Riverside. And so I think one of the ideas I would like to see these nonprofits that keep coming to talk about not outsourcing animal control to actually buy the property, have the shelter renovated as has been offered by international celebrity, and then maybe the city provides some of the money that they'd spend outsourcing to Riverside for having an animal control shelter right here in San Bernardino. You know, you need to wonder if they will be outsourcing police next, because it is a major part of our budget. And I've lived in sheriff communities, and they tended to be better run. I'm sorry, not better run communities, but higher income communities. I don't know if sheriffs in this town would work, but I would guarantee that as the deficit increases and keeps increasing, that they will look to be outsourcing police, but after the tax measure, because they will be looking to the police to help pass and convince the public for an increase in sales tax. So be it.
I would never outsource the dogs, the cats, the animal control. You know, a few years ago, my dog got into a little trouble because my neighbor decided to punch my dog. And my dog went through the animal shelter and the animal doggy jail. And man, the dog lovers sure stepped up, and they sure helped me, and they sure helped my dog. Okay, and it was there that I learned the troubles of the animal shelter. And for a long time, all the dogs were being killed. They were in feces and they were in urine. And there are so many animal lovers who came to save that place and to love that place. I believe it was because of my dog that the city finally got the help that they need, and they got that the animal shelter on the right track. Now that the animal shelter is on the right track, that is the wrong thing to move. Cesar Millan has offered to rebuild a whole new shelter. If the water department has wanted that property for many years, if we sold that, we could get a piece of land. I mean, I keep thinking, let's put it over there in the old Lowe's building. Every time my eyes close, I say, let's put the animal shelter over there at Lowe's. And let's use the homeless to help with the dogs, because if you see all the homeless people, how good they are with the dogs, we could kill two birds with one stone. Okay, people are more apt to care about cats and dogs than they are about humans. Okay, so if we can get these people investing in our cats and our dogs and bring our humans along, okay? I mean, seriously, you guys laugh, but it's the truth. You know, my daughter made me pick up 13 dogs in this city. In my house, I had to house 13 dogs. And for the first, I don't know, a couple of dogs, it was real easy to get rid of. You know, I found them homes. And then as it kept going, it was a little harder and a little harder and a little harder. But you know what? I successfully placed 13 dogs within this city. And I know that this city desperately needs the animal shelter where people can get to it. And like I said, the animals bring love to this city. Thank you.
As a business owner, we try to do as many trades as we can to save money. I don't understand why they would want to sub everything out. The trash was making money. Years before, we were doing asphalt paving only. Until we started getting into concrete and then more grading. We did it all in-house, demo, and we saved more money that way. We were very competitive. We were getting a lot of projects that way. So you save money if you keep everything in-house. The fire and PD, we already know that those departments don't bring you any money. So you have to have revenue to support that. I have to have workers' comp. I have to have general liability. I have to have it to function. We have to have that as a city. We have to have fire and PD. Some of these departments that we have, the engineering department, the refuge department is the main department that it doesn't make sense when you have illegal dumping. Burrtec's not gonna go pick it up. We had people in-house that would go pick up those couches or mattresses out on the side of the street. If Burrtec picks it up, guess what? We're gonna pay, they're gonna charge us more. How many here are seeing their trash bill go up? It's going up, and it's gonna go up for the next 3 to 5 years. It's gonna go up. You think we're saving it, but we're not saving. The PD, the sheriff, if it was sheriff, yeah, they could take over at a price. The fire department, are we really saving money on the fire department? I want my old fire department back. We have 3 stations that are closed, but yet we're still paying the same or even more for fire service. Thank you.
The question had to why would we outsource and parts. The city is actually, as the city clerk mentioned, we're actually hiring an additional person in park, so we're not outsourcing any more of the park maintenance or landscaping, and it's already been outsourced. And I don't know where the notion of outsourcing the police department has come from. That's not something that we've discussed. It's not something that we've been working towards. We've been working towards just the opposite. And when we annexed into the county fire district, we did that out of necessity. The county fire district has provided a great benefit to the city. It has produced a reduction in the response time. When we were operating our own fire department, which was a very tough decision, we didn't want to have to change our current fire department and bring in the county, but the city was not able to provide the resources to the fire department to be able to get that necessary equipment, keep the stations maintained, and so it was necessary to annex into the county fire district. And as a result of that, our response time has now gone from 911 calls from 9 minutes 50 seconds to now under 6 minutes. That protects lives and it protects property. And unfortunate as it was the change that we needed in order to make sure that we could improve the level of service in the community. And that's happening. Additionally, that helped us to save approximately $8 million in the general fund. Outsourcing to Burrtec allowed us to save an additional $5 million. Those savings allowed us to be able to hire new police officers. Over the last 3 years, including this year, we've had to replace about 60 police vehicles because they're worn and they're tired. And so we needed to adjust those allocation of resources. And it was unfortunate that we had to change our fire department, but it was necessary in order to be able to right-size the city and to improve public safety, especially with the police department.
In order to allow time for the candidates to make closing statements, we're through with the questions now. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for a closing statement, and you may want to address any issues that have come up today. We'll go in the same order as in the opening statements, and the reason for that is because to reverse it would allow one candidate to have both the final word, the first word, and the last word, and this makes it much more fair. So we'll start with Ms. Rowe on the closing statement, and you have 3 minutes.
Well, you know, I did have the opening statement, so you want me to go ahead and have the opening and the closing right now?
Pardon me?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So as your next mayor, I'll provide courageous leadership. I will bring a team of local experts and local expertise within our community. You know, I've studied this community inside and out for many years. I've lived in this city for 41 years. I've traveled down every single street in this city, from uptown to midtown to downtown. I know all the money that has been put in by the federal government, by SBCTA, by Omnitrans. Right now, what we need philanthropic investment. We need to take action. We don't have anybody that has ever taken action on what we already have. We have a city that is ripe for the rebuilding. We have Cal State. We have San Bernardino Valley College. We have all of these children that graduate and have no place to go. I will bring back middle-class housing. I will bring back, we have an 80% renter to owner ratio, which means 80% of our population is renters. That cannot sustain a community. You have got to even that out. And actually, it's supposed to be about 70-30, 80-20 the other way. Okay? But we need housing inventory. We need middle-class affordable housing. If we do not have middle-class affordable housing, we really do not have anything. We do not have any property taxes because we outsource the fire department. All of our property taxes have been given away to the county, except for the ones that we would get for the base, which is because we have a bond. And once that bond is paid, then all of those taxes go to the county also. So now we are overpaying for our fire department. I would make sure that if we're hiring a city manager to do our business, then that we actually hire one that's competent, because we've gone through city manager after city manager after city manager, and we do have one that's competent now. But a lot of those mistakes came, I've seen it, from the city manager just signing willy-nilly over here. The mayor, even though he's not the CEO, he has a duty to look over what he has here. I mean, he is the figurehead of the city. He is the voice. He is the visionary. Okay, I will bring all of those things. I will be the voice. I will be the visionary. I will bring the love. I will unite the community. The community will once again have hope, because I am fearless. I am courageous. And you know what? I know people who love this city and who have wonderful plans for this city, that if only they were given a chance, okay, by the elected officials to actually speak or to interact. There are so many people who would like to bring the philanthropic investment. We need a public-private, private-public. All of these things are ready to go. We just need a person to activate them. I am that person that can walk in, activate the community, and just go. In 120 days, we can look around the city and say, hey, wow, that's beautiful. We've made progress, instead of 6 years later. Thanks.
Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns were good friends, but when they were friends in the ring. So I know we all talked about Davis and the things he's done. I think we're at a point we just don't trust government. I don't. You know, if you drive around the city, that speaks for itself. There's several things that I would like to understand. Where, like you said, one of the questions, where's the money at? Where is the money? In my business, as an engineer contractor, we have an engineering and a director. They keep resigning. So why are they resigning? Why would you give up a job that's over $100,000? Why would they resign? And where are they going when they resign? They're not doing a whole lot of work. There's not a lot of projects going on. Now, years ago, in 2014, I caught another public official. I don't think anybody of you heard this. I caught a public official cheating on these bids. I'm a contractor, and he was cheating with another contractor. And that needs to be looked into. And if that is going on now, what's really going on behind closed doors, behind the scenes? We have Channel 3. They covered all these council meetings before. Why aren't they covering this mayor's case? If I would ever say this in front of live TV, Channel 7 or whatever, you're going to have Channel 7 coming up and putting microphones in the city engineer's face and say, what's going on with that bid? Let's talk about it. Show us. I would show them. This is what's happening with our city. We have to get somebody like myself that's going to stick the heels in the sand and take on these politicians. I've been told I'm going to get hit from both sides. I've already been hit. It's there. But it's going to take somebody tough like myself that understands and knows where all the skeletons are buried. Now, me saying that, I think a lot of people they've been nervous from day one. They won't debate with me, especially a live debate. The Sun Telegram's not covering this election like they should. Why aren't they? On June 5th, this is a very important race, probably the most important in our history. Bankruptcy, the shooting, Why hasn't it been covered? Now, the knowledge that I know firsthand, the corruption I know on these bids, this is just 2014. It's not too long ago. We have the city hall's closing down. There are different buildings, all this money, where's it at? Why are they paying more? As mayor, like I said before, if I see anything out of the ordinary, I'll circle the wagons around the city with FBI agents. And I'll give you guys the answers. Nobody else is going to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. I've appreciated the opportunity to be with you today, and to also want to thank the Women's Club and Dr. Garcia for the excellent job that she's done moderating this. And I'd like to start out by just going back a little bit. When I ran for mayor, I saw a lot of needs in our community. One of the fundamental flaws that I pointed out was our charter, and I led the effort to reform our charter. We've been successful in being able to do that. I also came into office and we were looking at budget deficits, and it was necessary to move us through bankruptcy. As a result of moving through bankruptcy, we've been able to reduce the obligations of the city somewhere between the neighborhood of $250 to $300 million. It was unfortunate that we couldn't pay those bills, but we had to go through that in order to be able to get the city to be able to have a chance going forward. The charter has also helped us to do that. It's also been necessary to try to look at maintaining the major priority that we have in our community, and that's to reduce crime. And we're starting to see a reduction in crime as a result of being able to put more money into the police department. They're hiring more police officers. We're replacing some of the equipment that they have, the tired equipment, and we are making inroads. Crime over the last couple of years, small as it is, has decreased each year by about 7%. And that's the pattern, and that's the direction we need to go on, continue. And additionally, we do have a vision. We've come together as a community, and we established those goals back in 2015, and today we continue to work on those. In a recent workshop that we had, we established the city's vision. The city's vision is to be a world-class city, a thriving city, a vibrant city, a model city, and a city recognized as the county's business and government center. We've established visions. We've established goals. Our goals are to provide for the safety of the residents, maintain and grow jobs, ensure the development of well-balanced and sustainable city, improve city government operations, operate in a fiscally responsible manner, and pursue city goals and objectives by working with other agencies. I've been doing that. I've been working on a local, regional, state, and federal level to be able to improve the relationships in our community. But once again, be at the table for all of those important discussions that need to take place. I was recently invited to attend a meeting that was put on by the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Transportation, one of a few mayors throughout the country that was invited to listen to what the administration and the new policies that they're putting forward to try to streamline the permitting process for projects in our country. I was one of a few that was also invited to participate in that. As a result of that invitation, I opened it up to our local and regional leaders. I went to the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, invited them in an Omnitrans. And so I've worked at being able to try to build those relationships. Thank you very much.
Goals are really important. Goals made in 2015 that haven't been resulted in action, those mean nothing. So I want to ask you, are your streets cleaner? Are your neighborhoods safer? Has the city held itself accountable to its own code enforcement in cleaning up its own property? Are there more middle-class jobs in this city? Are there fewer potholes? No. Can you expect a city manager to not take daily phone calls from the mayor's main supporter to get her marching orders? No. So, and the public has gone from the ability to speak about issues that are important, both on and off the agenda, at every council meeting, at every item after they've heard the staff report, to now getting 3 minutes total at the beginning of the meeting when they haven't been able to hear the discussion. And the definition of insanity is re-electing the same mayor and expecting change, okay? So, I support campaign finance and ethics reform because this has got to stop. We cannot have council members voting on contracts for their campaign contributors. It is wrong, and nothing in this city will change until developers and investors and the public can trust their governing body. I have experience, I have passion, I have vision and a plan, and the ability to get that done. So I promise to listen to the public, I promise to return your call, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dottie.
This concludes this forum. And that was sponsored by Robert Porter, and we thank Robert Porter for sponsoring this forum. We also thank the members of the committee, Linda Nolan, who served as the excellent timer, and Greedy Richmond, who screened the question cards. Thank you both very much. Thanks to the candidates for your participation, and to the audience for your attendance and questions. And I just want to add, and one of the candidates said the same thing. Election day is coming right up on Tuesday, June 5th, which is a little over 2 weeks away. Early voting has already begun. And if you need to register, and I think most people here are probably registered, but this coming Monday is the last day to do so. Yes? Yes?
Actually, that's if you want to register and vote by mail. You can register and vote the day of the election if you go to the Registrar of Voters.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. And thank you all for being here. And good luck.
You want to say anything, Robert?
I love San Bernardino.